This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, good morning, everyone. So what we have discussed so far, we have seen like what is AR, how to create an AR, okay, and what is the AR type configuration, how to create a AR type configuration, how we can do the cost planning and revenue planning in the AR, and we have seen some other basic configuration as well. For example, how to change the user fields and how to add help values in some of the fields in the AR. So in previous session, we were on the approval part and I was explaining like we have an option of user status, and user status is like it's a cross functional. Okay, so it's like cross module functionality. Okay, and it used for multiple purposes. So we will start our today's session with the user status. So we will understand what is user status, okay, what is the usage, how we will utilize it, how we will configure it. Okay, so user status is a big configuration and it is a cross module configuration, or you can say it's a cross component configuration. So what does that mean? It means the same configuration applies for the different type of SAP object. For example, the same thing as apply for the investment position, same functionality will apply for the AR, same functionality will apply for the WBS element, project definition, maintenance order, like that. So there are multiple objects for which this user status functionality will apply. So once you know how to configure the user status, how it will work, it means if you know the basic functionality of user status, then you can create user status for any of the other object. So today's topic is more about the user status. Okay, and let's see. So before talking about the user status, let's see how many type of status we have in the system. Do we have any status thing here? Okay, so when we are saying about the SAP status, so first thing is the status. So we have a two type of status in the system status and the user status. So what is mean by system status? So system status is like the system status is already provided by the SAP, so we cannot change the system status. So what SAP provide us? SAP giving us the functionality of user status. So SAP is saying we are giving you the system status, but if system status is not fulfilling your requirement, you can use the user status. So how we can classify it? So we can say we have a status. So status is two type. So one is your system status and second is your user status. So as name suggests, it's a status. So what is that mean status? Status means it is representing the state of any particular object. So this system status can be different for each of the object. For example, in case of AR, it can be different. There are few system status which is common. Okay, for example, created, close, those are the common system status. But apart from that, there are a lot of system status which can be differ from the object to object. By means of object here, it can be different for the WBS element, it can be different for the network activities, it can be different for the plant maintenance order, like that. But there are many system status which is already configured by the SAP. So what we can say, first thing is the system status is it is like provided by SAP. So it means it is standard. Second attribute, we can say what it will do, it will represent the object state. Okay, so what is the object state means, like if we are creating any object in the system, so what is the object? Okay, so object, so when we are saying object, what is the object? It is our AR, WBS element, PM order, okay, and your investment position, IM position, like that. Okay, so we have a multiple object in the system. So when we are saying it is representing the object status, means every object has their own cycle. Okay. So for example, when we are creating any object, so by default it is a created status. If we are closing any object, then it will be a close status. If we are deleting it or putting a deletion flag, then it will be a deletion flag status. So like that, we have a multiple state. In the same way, there are many states which is differ from object to object. So by using this state, we can identify some information. So it provides us some information. Okay, it provides us state as well as the information. For example, if we are saying WBS element, so when we allot the budget to the WBS element, then system status will change to the BUDG. So based on that, we can identify, okay, it is BUDG, it means budget is allocated. If it is ABAC, it means availability control is active. If it is CLSD, means the object is closed. So like that, we can identify their information. How to change the system status? Okay, so there are two mechanisms. First is like set by transaction. So there are few system status which is changed automatically. You don't change it, but it will change automatically. For example, when we are creating any object, so we can see there is a created status, so CRTT. So that is by default, so it is automatically. Sometime we perform some transaction. So for example, on WBS, when we assign the budget, then it will change the system status as well. Okay, so there are few other transaction as well, like we are doing some system transaction in system, but that will also change the our object status. And we have manual option as well. So we have few system status which we can change it manually. So I will show you how we will do that. So for each object we have a limited system status which we can change manually. What system will do, status will do, it will restrict or it can control your system transaction. So when I'm saying transaction, it means when you are doing some other transaction or functionality. For example, if I'm saying, let's take a WBS example. So let's say there is a system status on the WBS element, and now you are trying to post some actual cost. So if the system status is created or closed, then system will not allow you to post the actual cost. So same way, there are some other functionalities as well. So we can say system status can also be used to restrict the functionality or transaction. Means we have a number of functionalities or transaction, and if you are saying, okay, in this particular status it will not work, on this particular status it will work, so you can control all those transactions by a user status as well. The only difference is system status SAP already defined, so SAP already decided which functionality will work on which particular system status. Now what happened when comes to the real-time scenario? Okay, so it's not necessarily always that system status will fulfill the customer requirement. Okay. So in that case, what will happen? In that case, we can use the user status. So user status, you can say it is a top-up functionality on the system status. Okay, so you can say it's a top-up functionality, or you can say it's an add-on functionality. So there are some time when system status will not fulfill your requirement. Let's say for AR we have only, so if we are saying the AR appropriation request, we have a system status like this. Okay, uh, system status. So it is initially CRTD, which is your created. Okay, then you send it for the approval. I don't know what is that status. Yeah, I'll show you in the system. So we will navigate to the IMA11, or we can open the IMA11 directly. In the AR, so I will open the last one. So we have the CP0085. I'll change it. We will go to the control data, and then we can see the status. So because there is no user status is assigned to this AR, we can see only the system status. So this is the system status. That's how we can see. So on every object we can see it in a different way, but we will have some way to check it. So now you can see this is created. So this is the description, but this is not the code of status. Now how to check the code? We can check in the, I think, how to navigate okay, here, display status overview. So if I will click here, you can see the status is CRTD, which is created. Okay. If I will click on the for approval, it is changing for the for approval. And now if I will click on again display status overview, the technical name is FAPP. Okay, for approval. So you can say, okay, FAPP for approval. Now we can either approve it or reject it. Let's say if I will approve it, then it will become approved. If we will check it again, it is now APRV. Okay, and then we can release it, but release it will not work because of that WBS is not created. So we are saying, okay, APRV approved. Now there is a constant. So if you will take a look at closely, you can see we have a created, then we have a for approval, and then we have approved. We cannot change anything in this sequence because it is system defined. Now if we need on the top of some top on, or you can add on functionality on the top of this system status, then we can use the user status. I'll give you an example, but before that, just let me complete the other attribute as well. What we can do in the user status again, so it's also like the same thing like system status. So if we want, we can restrict or control the system transaction or functionality. So we can also control the system transaction and functionality by using system user status. How user status will be changed? So it can be automatically set or reset based on business transaction, or it can be, we can change it manually as well. Now the question is why we are using the user status. So why we use status? User status, like if we need more control over the system status, that is the first thing. Like if system status is not able to fulfilling our requirement, then we can use the user status. So that is the first thing. Second is we can also use it for the approval mechanism. So approval mechanism means sometimes we use the manual approval system. So manual approval system, we can use the user status. If we are using any custom workflow, so workflow can also utilize the user status functionality and reporting as well. So we use user status for reporting as well. Sometimes customer says, okay, let's say if we are creating our project or AR, you can consider AR for example, and they are saying, okay, we need more information, okay, from the status point of view. So we can add multiple user status. That is the usage. Now let's take an example. Okay, so we will consider an example. So example is I am creating a, okay, let's just before that, what I need to do, I need to make the adjustment here. It will say, okay, company code. Program type not allowed according to budget profile of measures. Okay. ZBS007. IME 11. So I'm doing some few quick changes. I'll explain those changes as soon as we will come to that particular topic. I am 11, 85. Yes. Okay, so now what we need, okay, we need more control. So how, let's consider one example. Okay, so what is our requirement? So now you can see what we are doing. We are creating an AR and we are filling these information, we are filling this information, we are assigning control data. So we are linking our position with this particular AR, we are assigning the responsibility, and user field if you want we can fill, and we are doing the cost planning as well. So now then we are sending it for the approval. When we are sending it for the approval, we have only option of created and then approval and approved. Now what we want, okay, what we want, we are saying okay, create a AR. Okay, so first we are saying okay, create a AR, then we are first reviewing the plan values. So that is the requirement. So I will just copy the field of the old thing, and then okay, so this is a business case. Okay, so this is the business case we will work on. So what we are doing, first we are creating a AR, then on the AR what we are saying, that change the status to the draft. Okay, so we are saying okay, change the status to, so once we are done with the AR planning values, then we are putting a draft system status. Once it will be peer reviewed, okay, then we are saying okay, change the draft status to the plan status, means we are having a one plan status. And then it's like once the plan is approved, okay, then we have this PAPR, means plan approved. Once this plan is approved, then only system will allow to send for the approval. Okay, then only system will allow to send you for the approval. And once you will approve it, then we have one user status which is RAPR, which will be like request for approval set automatically, and then approve the AR. So what we are trying to do here is like we are forming a cycle. Okay, so we are trying to forming one approval cycle here, which will look like this. So this is the sequence you can, so this is now a sequence. So sequence is like when we are creating our AR, then my user status will be the CRTD. Okay, once we are done with the what we can say, the draft cost planning, then it will be DRFT. So we are changing it manually as DRFT, and I have defined as the usage as well, like what is the usage for these applicability. So first one is like only for information reporting and control. Draft, we again is like information reporting and control. Once we are saying okay, it is peer approved, peerly reviewed and approved, then we can change the user status to plan. Now we are saying okay, now plan is completed. Now we need a planning approval as well. So someone else, let's say a supervisor will come and he will or she will change the status as PAPR. We are saying okay, planning is approved now, so now we cannot do any more planning. Okay, so we are saying okay, this is approval and authorization, plus it is also restricting the approval button. Okay, so we can say it is restricting the approval button and planning values. So what does this mean? It means until or unless the planning is approved, you cannot send it for the approval. It means, so for example, right now you can see, even though if I don't have any planning values, okay, everything is 0 here. So I have not mentioned any planning values, but still I can send it for the approval. So what is my requirement now? I am saying build a system in such a way until or unless planning values is approved, we cannot send it for the approval. So that's what we are trying to do here. Then we are saying, okay, planning is approved. So now if it planning is approved, then only that particular button is active and you can send it for the approval. So once you will click on that approval button and you are saying, okay, that it is already request for the approval, then we have one more status as RAPR, and this time this RAPR, we will trying to show the functionality like how system will change the automatically. So these two status will change automatically. We will not change it manually. So that's what we will do in the system. So first thing is like how we will change the user status. Okay, user status. So how, so path will be the this one. Okay, like we will go the investor management, master data, control, user status, and defined user status profile, and then we will assign it definitely. So we will assign it to our AR type as well. So we need to assign the status profile, but first we need to create our user status profile. So that is a path. We can also use the T code as well. So we have one common T code which is OK02. So same T code will use for the other object as well. Okay, OK02. I will write down here as well that transaction code. So you can say insert T code is OK02. So either we can use this transaction code or we can follow the path. So I'll go by the path SPRO project system. Oh, sorry, not project system. Investment management, appropriation request, master data, and where is that? Control data, user status, and define user status profile. Okay, so this is the user status configuration will look like. So pay more attention in this configuration. It is a cross functional configuration. So you same steps will use for the other object as well. Might be the detailed data will change based on the object to object, but the step will be the same. You can see here as well, the transaction code is OK02. So here you can see there are multiple profiles. So when we are creating a user status or a user status profile, we need to create first user status profile. So first we need to create a user status profile, and then okay, let me just show you one more thing here. We will give the description like this. Okay, so we are creating a profile. Let's say I'll create a user status profile. I'll give it a name, so you can give it name. So I'll give it like ZAR status 0001. Okay, AR user status 0923. And then we have to provide a language as well, like in which language key we are maintaining those statuses, the text. So I am saying English. Now that status profile is created, so you can see here ZARST001 is created. So first step is, okay, now let's talk about the configuration. So T code is OK02. First step, step 1, create a user status profile. Step 2, change the user status profile. Then assign the object. Create user statuses and then define the transaction. Again, when we are creating a user status, we have a multiple options, so we will understand those options. So first thing is we have to create a user status profile, which is already done. Now we can save it now. First save it, and then you can change it again. So for changing, you need to double click on it. So we are double clicking, so now you can see everything is blank. What is the next step? We need to assign the object type. So you can see this object type button here. So why I am saying this object type? Because this configuration is applicable for multiple objects in the SAP system, and we need to assign which particular object this user status profile is applicable. Okay, so that is the linkage between your user status profile and the object type. So object type, if I'm saying it's object type, it means which type of object you wanted to assign it, like whether it is for WBS element, AR, like that. So if I'll click on this button, you can see there are multiple user object type here, like for example account plan, account hierarchy. So whatever object type you can see here, you can create a status profile for those object type. So there are 401 object type, you can see. Now we need to find the appropriation request. So let's see the appropriation request. You can see here appropriation request. So I need to select it. If you are creating a user status for the variant, so we have the variant as well, right, in the appropriation request, then you can select this one. Try one object at a time. So if you are creating any status profile, just make sure you are selecting it only for the one object. Even though system will allow you to choose the multiple object, but the problem is when you are doing the transaction control, at that time it will be confusing, like which transaction is applicable for which particular object. So ideally just choose one object. So we are creating it for the appropriation request, and I have selected this and then save it. So that is the step number 2. Go back. So step number 2 is change the user status profile and then assign the object type. So because we are doing it for the appropriation request, so we have to select the appropriation request. If we are doing it for the project definition or WBS element, then we can choose those object. So I'll show you those object as well here. So if I will click on the object type again, so you can see the multiple names here. Okay, so now if we are seeing project definition, so you will go down, down, down. You can see the project definition. And so there are two project definition you can see here. One is applicable for the PS, and then you can see the WBS element as well. Where's the WBS? WBS element, WBS element. Okay, so this is how like you can attach it to a particular object. Now third step is now you need to create a user status. So now there are multiple option we have here. We have the status code, okay, status number, status code, what is their description, whether it will be an initial status flag, what is the lowest, highest, and as of now just ignore these one, and then we have the authorization code. So like that we have a multiple option here. First understand the concept of this numbering. Okay, so this is a numbering. So in SAP we have again two type of user status. So when we are saying user status, so now just classify it again in a two way. Okay, so you can say numbering user status and non-numbered. Now they have their own properties, numbering and non-numbering. So when we are saying numbering user status, it means what is their properties? Only one user status can be selected, means radio button. For non-numbered, we can select multiple user status at the same time. Checkbox. Okay, it follows the sequence. No sequence. So when we are saying no numbering, it means no sequence. So in system, we can create a numbering user status and a non-numbered user status. So numbering user status means you define a sequence. So if you are saying, okay, I need to follow particular sequence like 1, 2, 3 like that. So in that case, you need to use user status. In user status, if you are creating a numbering user status, so it means you can only choose one user status at a time from the all the number user status. So if we have 10 numbering user status, so out of those 10 you can select only one at a time. If we have a non-numbered user status, then you can select multiple at the same time. It will coming as like a checkbox. We don't follow any sequence in the non-numbered, but in numbering we follow the sequence. Numbering generally used for your process cycle approval and workflow. Non-numbered generally used for your reporting and the transaction control. So we can select it anytime. Now go back again to the configuration. So we have this status number option here. So this status number will define whether it is a numbering or non-numbering. So if you will keep it as a blank, it will be your non-numbered. If you will enter number here, then it will become your numbered user status. So what we are doing here, so we are creating these user status, right? Oops. So these all are our numbering user status example. And then we have the second column, which is our code. So this is the code, and then it is a description. So we are saying create it, we are saying draft plan. Okay, let's say plan drafted. So there is a text limit. Planning complete. Planning approved. Request for approval and approved. So now this is the text. Now what is the issue? If I will enter here, okay, if I'll enter, it is my non-numbered user status. Okay, it is my non-numbered user status. It is not. Now I can select anything as of now. So what we will do a quick test, and then we will have this initial status. So what is this initial status flag means? If you will select as an initial, okay, then it will be our by default user status. So we will check this as well. So first we will save it, we will go back, and then we will assign it to the AR type. So we are assigning it for our Z5. We will choose the profile, this one, and save it. Now go back again in the user status profile. So now whatever changes we will do, we can test it. Okay, so now what I will do quickly, I will create one more AR because it will not impact in the old AR. So Z5, I'm giving a name like, what is that name I use? So I will find the open name. So we will use this functionality to find the next name. Okay, so I'll just fill the mandatory information only to show you the status thing. Why it is not coming? Okay, yes, it will come here. So now you can see if I will click on this status overview, those status is appearing here: approved, created, planned, drafted, planning approved, planning completed. All those user status is appearing here. As I explained, if it is a known number, I can select multiple at the same time. Okay, so you can see I can select the multiple at the same time, and then I can remove it as well. I have not added any system control or the other functionality as of now. I am just showing you first how to create it and how it will look like. Then we will add the system control. So that is the first thing. So now you know, like, okay, if it is non-numbered, we can select multiple. If it is numbered, then we can select only one. I'll go back. I'm not saving it. Now make some changes. There we are. So I was talking about this initial status. So if I will select it, then it will be my default by default. So as soon as I will create any object, this user status will become default. So now let's test it again. I am 11. We will create again AR. So that's how you need to test it, okay, for a better understanding. Like, so now you can see earlier when we created, this created was not there. Okay, so now because we make it as a default, now this created also coming as a default, and you can check it. So now you have this option also, okay, on the front screen. If you want, you can go back to your display status overview and you can check